started teaching online, well, at first it was on the telephone. You guys remember Instant Teleseminar? It was a new technology and it was amazing to do these large conference calls. But I had been so used to working in rooms where I could see everybody's faces and I could see if they were struggling or having difficulty or having a question. So teaching on the telephone, all of a sudden I couldn't see them. I couldn't hear them unless they raised their hand to ask a question. So I really had to start to lean in a lot more into my intuition and trust that I could feel when I needed to take more time with something, or when they were feeling sort of over it, or when I needed to go deeper. It caused me to, first of all, have to trust you all a lot more, that if you were having a problem or a question, you would say something to me about it and not micromanage the way I could in a room. But also, like I said, really lean into my intuition. And I started doing this breathing thing for a couple of reasons. One was to center myself. And you'll see when I do this, some people say like, Sam, are you doing an energy healing on us when you do that breathing? And I'm like, maybe. But when I do those 3 breaths, here's what I'm doing. The first breath is to center me, to set aside this time from other time in my life, focus myself in, and to really call down the divine, to really lean in to the unknown, lean to trust the spirit and the energy and the movement that's bringing us together. That's the first breath, is me allowing myself full access to my intuition, to divine knowing, to whatever you want to call it. And I'm curious what you guys call it. The second breath is to create sort of a psychic room for all of us. Because for those of you who are here live, those of you who are maybe watching a recording or tuning in later, to just sort of create a space in which we can all be together in sort of a time out of time way and tune into that room, see if I can't feel things. Sometimes, especially with an ongoing group, I can sort of feel into where everybody's at. And then the third breath is just to trust that everything that needs to be said will be said and everything that needs to be heard will be heard. Getting over my own desire to micromanage, my own desire to have everything be perfect. I'm not in charge of perfect. I'm in charge of showing up and doing what I can do in the best way that I know how to do it. So I'm curious for you, what do you call that psychic, intuition, knowing, vibe? What do you call that? Do you call it your intuition? Do you call it your inner wisdom? Veronica says, when I'm feeling less woo, free association for fun and profit. When I'm feeling more woo, mediumship. I like mediumship. That's good, right? Because I mean, I know it has an association of communicating with people who have died or passed on to the other side, but I also like being the medium, the thing through which things pass through. Here's what I know. I am a fairly sensitive person. I'm pretty sensitive to emotions, mine and everybody else's. And I'm an actor. This is what actors do. We are very interested in feelings. We're interested in our feelings. We're interested in other people's feelings. Raise your hand if this is you. This just happened to me the other day. I was in the midst of a very strong emotion. I was very upset. I was sobbing in a way that I had not sobbed in a long time. I was sobbing. And even as I was sobbing, there were 2 parts of me. One was the actor part of me that was going, oh, I should remember this for later. That's what actors do. When we're having a strong emotion, we're like, oh, I got to remember what this feels like and how my body is, so that if I ever need to recreate it on screen or on film, I can do it realistically. And the other part of me was the personal development part that was going, oh, this is very good, Sam. You really needed this cry. This is a good cry for you. So it's like there's the me that's in the moment, and there's these 2 commentators also. I said, I know that I'm fairly sensitive to people's feelings and my own feelings, so it would not surprise me. And I know that I am more sensitive maybe than some other people. So other people aren't sensitive. They have trouble reading people's expressions. They don't immediately get other people's feelings. So it certainly would not surprise me that if I'm fairly sensitive, and I know that there are people who are less sensitive to feelings, that there are people who are more sensitive to feelings, that are picking up more bits of information. And whether it's reading micro expressions or identifying micro patterns or past life or spiritual forces unnamed, I don't know. None of us know. But what I do know is that every culture throughout all of human time knows what it is, experiences it. And that's when I know things are true. If it's something that has happened to everybody throughout all time, throughout all cultures, throughout all human history, then it's something. I don't know if there's such a thing as ghosts, but I know that every culture has a story about ghosts. So there's something we're telling a story about. I often make the joke that, nice girls from Chicago don't say psychic. We say I'm very intuitive. Make a little note for yourself about, what do you call that? What do you call that knowing? What do you call that intuition? And I also always want to be really careful that I'm not making claims that I can't substantiate. I know some people apprentice to learn more about their mystical and psychic gifts. I know some people study for years. I know some people read a lot of books. I know some people go to other psychics and get training sort of by being in the patient chair. I have done none of these things. I've never had a psychic reading. I've never been to a psychic. So I never want to make claims to know things that I don't know. On the other hand, I find that intuition is a pretty baseline human thing, so I don't mind saying that I'm intuitive. I will say that one of the ways that my intuition shows up for me, that the way my psychic powers shows up for me, is it feels like knowing. And I understand that this is in the psychic world known as claircognizance. There's clairvoyance, there's clairaudience. Mine tends to show up as claircognizance. First started working with people, especially working with people one-on-one, I would sometimes say things and they'd be like, wait, how do you know that? I didn't tell you that. How do you know that? And I was always a little taken aback, like, I don't know how I know. I just know. Somebody told me. I don't know. I know. I know it like I know you're sitting here. Like, I just know. And it got me in trouble once or twice. I said things that people maybe weren't entirely ready to hear, or that I didn't feel like I had permission to say. And maybe that's happened to you too. I remember when I was in high school, I got this deck of tarot. Do you guys know this? This is the Woman Mother Peace round tarot deck. We were away as a family, and so I was like, oh, tarot, that seems like fun. And so I started doing tarot readings for my family, and I got to my mother's boyfriend and started reading his tarot, and I was like, I am seeing things here that I don't think I should know about. I am not comfortable having this information or having this conversation with him because I'm 15 and he's my mother's boyfriend, and this is not, and I put them away. I wasn't afraid of it. I just felt like, no, this is like, it was like looking in somebody's underwear drawers, and I put them away for a long time. And mostly what I love is I just love stories. I think everything is true and I love stories. So I never do tarot readings for anybody else, but I do them for myself sometimes, and it's a lot of fun. And that's what I love about intuition, is that it sometimes can invite you into a new story. And that's what I want you to do today, is to invite yourself into a new story. The point of all this is partly to remind yourself about your own intuitive properties. And if there is something you're struggling with, or something that's especially a recurrent problem, a patterned problem, you might want to try some of your own favorite divination practices. Some people like pendulums, some people like palmistry. There's hand analysis, which is different than palmistry. There's runes, there's I Ching, there's, just free drawing, just creative drawing. Let yourself access that knowing without knowing. Let your higher wisdom speak to you. More than once, I have been all up in my own business about something that's not going the way I think it should, or something that I'm upset about. And when I actually calm down and try to access this other kind of wisdom, sometimes I get a voice that says, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, wait, but it does matter. It's my bank account. It's my business. It's my lover. It's my friend. Like, not relevant. Who would I be if I felt this wasn't relevant? That's interesting. Or sometimes I get to work. Do it now. Sometimes I picture her as like an old grandmama on a front porch somewhere, like going like, yep, do it. Quit complaining. Quit your bitching. My spiritual knowing is not often very kind, but wise. So all this is to say, I have started offering a sort of soul intuitive circle. You can ask me whatever questions you want, and I give you whatever answers I can. I've done it in live groups. I've done it when I do my retreats to Majorca, to Crete, but now I'm starting to offer it to you all. It's been great. People really seem to love it and get a lot out of it, and I love doing it. Like I said, there's no promises made. I will answer every question with the fullness of my knowledge and wisdom and information, whether I know the source of that information or not. It's $47, but if you'd rather not pay the $47, you can use the coupon code, I think it's no charge, and it will zero out. So you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to. I sometimes will do right hand, left hand. I'll ask a question with my dominant hand, because I write with my right hand, and then let it answer with my less dominant hand, which my less dominant handwriting, of course, looks like a deranged kindergartner. But that's okay. Again, it keeps it pithy and often funny. I like what a good sense of humor my intuition sometimes has. So I'm curious, Amber, Chloe, Steph, what's going on? How are you guys? How is this all landing for you? Is it reminding you? Are there things that you like to notice? I have a little friend group on WhatsApp, and we all claimed a little sign, something we like as a sign. Like a friend of mine likes hummingbirds. Whenever she sees a hummingbird, she feels like, okay, there's something here for me. There's a message. I'm loved. I'm safe. Please, if you're interested, please check out the Soul Intuition session. Check out therealsambennett.com/soul, SOUL. Like I said, it's $47. I'm not making a fortune off of this, but I wanted to charge something because I felt like, well, like if you don't charge, people don't take it seriously. And I wanted you to know that there's a safe space for you and your intuition to ask questions, to put the puzzle pieces together in maybe a slightly less linear way. And plus it's fun. So if you would like to join me for that, I hope that you will. If you have a friend that you think might enjoy it, I hope you'll invite them. Like I said, you can also you don't have to pay anything. You can zero it out. I did that partly because you may not feel comfortable paying for something like that. It may feel like, well, if it's a spiritual gift, why are you charging for it? I don't think there's a differentiation between spiritual gifts and other gifts. I get it that other people have other feelings about it. I also remember when I didn't have $47. So I wanted to make it available for everybody. So I'm going to keep playing around with this. I may do it again. It may or may not be the same price going forward. It's just a one-time thing, and we're not going to record it. Good. Anything anybody wants to say or share now? I just really wanted to take this opportunity. You know, I love to talk to you once a week about the tools that you already have, right? The things, and your inner knowing is one of those tools. The other thing I will add, there's a guy named Gavin DeBecker who's a security safety specialist. He wrote a book called The Gift of Fear, which is an excellent book. But one of the things he talks about is that in his career as a security provider, how many people he talks to who have been the victim of some kind of assault or crime, and how often they say, and this is not to blame the victim in any way, shape, or form, ever, never, but there's a pattern of people saying, gosh, you know, I didn't really want to get into the elevator with that person, or I saw them out of the corner of my eye and I just got a little feeling, or I didn't like that building, or I didn't like that office, I didn't like the way that person was looking at me. Right. Notice you don't have that feeling about everything. If you do, that's a different situation. But, you know, that feeling like, well, but I didn't want to be rude, or I didn't want to seem like I was afraid, or I didn't want to, you know, oh, go ahead and listen. Even if it makes you feel foolish, don't get in that Uber if you feel yucky about it. Don't let that person buy you a drink if you don't want them to, you know, understand that one of the ways your intuition communicates with you is through a sense of fear or foreboding. I'll tell you one more story about intuition. It's just kind of funny. When I was visiting colleges, I came to visit Wesleyan, which was kind of high on my list. I thought I might really like Wesleyan. I flew to Connecticut. I pull up to the gate, and as I drive onto the campus, everything in my body is going, nope, 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 no, 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 no. And I was like, wow, okay, apparently this is not my place. And then I had this interview where they're like, so why do you feel like you would be a valuable addition to the Wesleyan community? And I'm like, I gotta go. Thank you. Like the whole thing is such a blur to me because I was so freaked out by the power of the do not go here vibe. I have no idea to this day what that was about. I did not attend Wesleyan. I didn't even apply. Oh, I referenced earlier that sometimes I would get myself in trouble by saying things to people that it didn't seem like I had any reason or right to know. And I've gotten a little better now at framing things up by saying things like, I'm just going to guess, but maybe, or do you sometimes feel like, or I'm just having this sort of hit, or I'm getting sort of a download. And sometimes, and I'll say this on the 8th too, when we do the soul intuitive circle, sometimes I get a hit and it's not you and I are talking, but it's not actually for you. It's for the person next to you. So, take what's useful and toss away what's not, just like everything, right? But really, I encourage you to lean into your wisdom, your knowing, especially about the things that feel hard or problematic to you. I love it that you guys show up for this. I love it that I show up for this. Let's do one more breath, shall we, to close out this circle. Please go to therealsambennett.com/soul. Enroll yourself in our little soul intuitive circle. See how it unfolds to you. I have a belief, a spiritual belief that says that the universe is a benign and benevolent place. And even when things happen that aren't pleasant or aren't things that we would pick, there is still a loving spirit behind it all. Let's do one more breath to close out this circle and this time together. I hope that I'll see you at our Soul Intuitive Circle, therealsambennett.com/soul. And I thank you for your support in this. I'm kind of coming out of the closet as a whatever this is. And so I'm excited that you're doing this with me. Thank you for being a safe space for me to share all the things. You ready? Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with me.